After 72 hours of continuous pounding, our patrols move forward. A mortar barrage searches out hidden machine gun nests. Admiral Turner gives the order to cease fire. Our guns are quiet as they make the climb. We wait for a sign. Suribachi is ours. Suribachi is ours.
This immortal and iconic image captured a mere 1/400th of a second of the flag raising atop Mount Suribachi on Iwo Jima, which launched 6 men and the Marine Corps to the hearts and minds of all Americans as symbols for the valor, courage, and bravery of the men and women fighting in World War II. The second flag raising on Iwo Jima provides the basis of John Bradley's book, Flags of Our Fathers, through which he engages a quest to determine the truth behind his father's actions on the fateful day of February 23, 1945, in which he became an American hero raising the flag on Iwo Jima. James Bradley begins his account by accident, following his father's death in 1994 and discovering papers with his father's Navy Cross and realizing his father was a flag raiser on Iwo Jima. Although James Bradley originally sought to discover the story of his father's actions, he successfully crafted an argument for not valuing heroes as symbols but as people, and that although heroes are seen as the makers of the largest sacrifices, many unknown figures make greater sacrifices and are the true heroes. War in the Pacific Theater raged on. Key outposts were needed, and the waves of brave men storming the small 8-square-mile island of Iwo Jima seemed endless. Among the soldiers, all of them are heroes for defending freedom and sacrificing so much. However, only a few received recognition that would make them household names. Flags of Our Fathers provides a more in-depth experience into the events that the brave soldiers of the United States Marines and Navy faced training, preparing, fighting, and dying for their country. Although 6,821 brave Americans died, only 27 received the Medal of Honor, the nation's highest military honor. None received the fame of the 6 flag raisers, of which the highest award was a Navy Cross, awarded to John Bradley. 6 men, 5 Marines, and 1 Navy Corpsman: Franklin Sousley, Harlan Block, Michael Strang, Ira Hayes, Rene Gagnon, and John Bradley, although not bestowed with the nation's highest military honor, became known to the world as the iconic symbols of the war following their flag raising on Iwo Jima. James Bradley wrote Flags of Our Fathers with historians in mind, by creating a structured novel that progresses chronologically to enable the reader to follow the sequence of events easily and provide a comprehensive historical account that is useful to historians analyzing World War II, the Pacific Theater during World War II, and specifically the Battle of Iwo Jima. Flags of Our Fathers provides personal stories and backgrounds that are a key aspect most historical accounts do not include, that can be beneficial to understanding the course of events and the true feelings and thoughts of those involved. James Bradley's Flags of Our Fathers is a book that, although useful and written for historians, reaches another audience, which consists of individuals interested in the effects of fame, the true story behind the actions and events on Iwo Jima, and others generally interested in the Pacific Theater in Iwo Jima. James Bradley presents a compelling argument and story in Flags of Our Fathers. Although he does this without specifically stating a theory, he implies that great sacrifice must be made to maintain freedom for all, and generally specifies the greatest sacrifice to those who died and the mothers who lost their sons. Flags of Our Fathers begins with a 1994 account of the beginning of his journey. However, the book transitions into a telling of the events prior to, during, and following the invasion of Iwo Jima, and the lasting impact it had on the 3 surviving members, Ira Hayes, Rene Gagnon, and James Bradley. The chronological order and the personal accounts of the flag raisers enable James Bradley's argument to be logically followed, as the reader begins to notice the transition of the character of the flag raisers and understand the minor details that can send ordinary men into fame for insignificant events, which is best represented by the fact that although the 6 flag raisers erected a symbol of American pride, the American flag, their actions had little meaning to those thousands of soldiers on Iwo Jima. The flag raising was the second flag raising of the day, following Secretary of the Navy James Forrestal's call to keep the first flag as a souvenir, thus resulting in the need for a new flag atop Mount Suribachi. 6 men of all walks of life united to erect the symbol of America, as the first flag was lowered and presented to Secretary of the Navy James Forrestal, and forever securing the flag raiser's place in the hearts and minds of Americans. Through private letters, the personal accounts can be viewed in an unbiased manner, as they were never intended to be public, and thus express the true feelings that the men enduring the war felt, and the grief that overcomes the mother upon learning the terrible conditions her son endured. Flags of Our Fathers emphasizes the importance of viewing heroes not as symbols but as individuals who made great sacrifices, and that many of the greatest and most honorable sacrifices are made by unknown figures. This is proven through James Bradley's focus on John Bradley, Ira Hayes, and Rene Gagnon, the only 3 surviving flag raisers. James Bradley follows the lives of the surviving flag raisers to determine how their lives were altered following the events on Iwo Jima. By structuring his book around these men, James Bradley focuses on their families, who stressed how the men's lives were changed for the worse following their recognition as symbols, which ultimately led to the demise of Ira Hayes and Rene Gagnon. In addition, the focus on family of both the surviving and deceased flag raisers depicts the severed bonds among families and the great sacrifices families make. Through the use of personal accounts of the surviving flag raisers, in collaboration with government records, James Bradley successfully provides evidence that supports his thesis. Bradley uses the evidence to highlight the change the men experienced following their actions on the small island of Iwo Jima. The personal accounts and government records help establish a chronology that aids in providing the thesis, through vivid and undisputable evidence that represents the sacrifices and the change experienced by the flag raisers following their use of symbols throughout the U.S. Following the image's publishing, Franklin Delano Roosevelt ordered the surviving flag raisers to Washington. Upon recognizing the potential of the image, he ordered it be used for the mighty 7th Bond Tour. Although Ira Hayes and John Bradley protested, they were forced on the tour with Rene Gagnon, who enjoyed the publicity. Ultimately, the spotlight on these men resulted in drinking for Ira Hayes and Rene Gagnon, which would lead to their demise. John Bradley was not changed by the experience and was the only flag raiser to reach old age. James Bradley's argument is executed flawlessly and successfully by establishing a novel that convinces the reader to view heroes not as symbols but as people, with the knowledge that they and many others made a sacrifice to make their honor possible. James Bradley wrote an intriguing book that clearly proves his thesis. However, in his book he raises the question of the definition of a hero. Bradley never asserts a true definition of a hero. Although Bradley may have done this to enable the reader to establish their own definition of a hero, or ponder the possibility that there is no concrete answer to the question. James Bradley maintains the point of view of a son looking for the story of his father's heroism, after silence from his father over his actions his entire life. This results in him taking a more sympathetic tone to the subject upon learning of the terrible conditions and injustices the brave men of Iwo Jima endured and conquered. In addition, Bradley expresses sympathy for his father's silence. His father never wanted the memories to return because the experience was too painful, and his reluctance emerged from the fact that he himself survived, but other men died and made the ultimate sacrifice to their nation, while he was hailed as the true hero. In order to establish a historically accurate account of the events on Iwo Jima, James Bradley used a variety of resources. James Bradley sought to achieve an all-inclusive book, and he achieves this through the use of information and images from private collections, the National Archives, the Associated Press, and military archives. The sources are highly reliable and enable Bradley to successfully cover the events that unfolded on Iwo Jima with impeccable accuracy that cannot be matched. Flags of Our Fathers would prove useful to an individual researching the Civic Theater, Iwo Jima, or the flag raisers themselves. As a result of the various resources and highly detailed account that enables the reader to understand the course of events prior to, on, and following the invasion of Iwo Jima. Overall, Flags of Our Fathers is an excellent account of the Battle of Iwo Jima and the truth behind the flag raising atop Mount Suribachi, which results in high praise for the book from historians and the general public alike.
Suribachi is ours.